Welcome into the Bears Squad Show. I'm Joe George, post-game host. So close, but the Bears fall short to the Green Bay Packers.
I'm Adam Sager. It was a tale of two halves for the offense. First half, not good. Second half, really good until the very last play.
And I'm Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears. The defense gets its turnover, but one too many of those mistakes, giving up one too many big plays for the Packers.
Bear down, Chicago. It's the Bears Squad. Everything Chicago Bears, every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Windy City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From Soldier Field to the next great chapter, the Bears Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Bears Squad Show here on the Locked On Bears YouTube channel and wherever you find your podcasts on Apple and Spotify. Joe George, Adam Sager, and Lauren Cox here with you for the next hour as we react to the Bears losing 28-21 to the Green Bay Packers. A interception on the final drive as the Bears have a chance to tie the game. Let's talk about what we saw in the first half versus the second half of the offense, the big plays given up by the defense throughout this one. And even with a loss, if it looked like the Bears proved that they belong with the top of the teams in the NFC. Lauren, obviously a gut-wrenching loss here. You know, you've got a chance, but you had all these big comebacks this year. You figure one of them is not going to go your way. Unfortunately, it's against the Green Bay Packers. Caleb throws the pick. Your reaction to that final play and drive?
Yeah, so I think it's unfortunate that that one pick and one play is going to be what we remember from this game, right? Especially, I think, Packers fans are going to talk about it over and over again, and national media is going to talk about it over and over again. And I think it's a shame because of Caleb generally playing well up to that point, and really like how evenly matched these two teams were throughout. Like, I think there's going to be this perception of like, oh, well, yeah, the Bears just weren't quite there to the big brother Green Bay Packers just yet, and that Caleb still makes too many mistakes, whatever. And that really didn't feel like the story of the game. Like, after halftime, the Bears dominated this game for much of the second half. They were trailing, so obviously scoreboard takes a minute, but like this was a coin flip type of game, and I think the final play is going to make it feel a lot more lopsided than it actually was.
Yeah, it's weird because you look at that last play and then think back to last week against the Eagles. It's the same play, and this time it's covered up. Green Bay takes that timeout going into the fourth down, and they run that same play. And then it's a killer, too, because DJ Moore is crossing, and he is wide open. There's nobody there. It is a definite touchdown. But you know what? Like Lawrence said, the Bears they showed something in the second half. I thought they came out and played really, really well after a putrid first half. And so you like to see the changes made at halftime, the adjustments made. But it does suck that it has to come down to that final play as what everybody will remember.
Yeah, it's a great point to just point out that it's the exact same play. That it worked so well the week before. You know, he lofts it right into Cole Kmet's hands for the touchdown last week versus the Eagles, and then this week it's intercepted. It's well covered by a guy that, you know, he was kind of all over the place in this game. You know, whether it was drawing penalties for the Packers by getting into fights with the Bears players or just playing good defense. Lauren, do you like the fact that they went back to that play again in that moment when, you know, maybe they just feel comfortable with it, or going back to it? What's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think I don't think it's like, oh yeah, I prefer they go back to it necessarily, but I think the criticism of, oh, why would you go back to it feels just a little bit short-sighted for me, because like a better thrown ball is a touchdown there, right? Like the play call, I mean, I get that maybe the Packers could have seen X, Y, or Z parts of it coming, but like, if Caleb puts that in the back corner of the end zone, Cole Kmet runs under it and it's a touchdown. Like, that wasn't an interception because Green Bay knew it was coming. Like, maybe that helped Keyshawn Nixon be in a better position to catch an underthrown pass, but it is much more on Caleb seeing it late, throwing it late, and not putting enough underneath it than it was like, oh, predictable play call, especially as Adam said, like DJ Moore was also coming open underneath there. And it would have been tough for Caleb to see because he's like under pressure to his left. And yes, but like, point being, the play had multiple things that would work with the ideal pass. And so I don't think the play was so much the issue there.
Yeah, and Caleb was just late, as you said, Lauren. He was late to see it. If he turns and throws immediately as he rolls out, I mean, it's a for sure touchdown because nobody was there with Cole Kmet. It was just 2 steps too late. And, you know, you live by Caleb, you die by Caleb. So, I mean, he made some tremendous throws in this second half, and then he just shorted one. And like I've said all season when we talk about Caleb, like I see quarterbacks do it all the time. And yeah, this was in the big moment, and it happens. But again, I think we got to focus on what they did in the second half, the offense coming alive, making adjustments, showing that they can run the ball against this defense. I mean, they worked this defense in the second half. So I think there's a lot of good to take away from it, and there's a lot to learn. And I think you learned a lot on defense of what you can do and what you can't do against Jordan Love, especially when you're still banged up as a defense.
We'll go through what we saw both there offensively and defensively, but I think you guys both put it well too as we were discussing this. It's unfortunate that play, I feel like it's going to be the focus of why the Bears lost this game, and to me, it's not. It's really what happened in the first half and the blown coverages. So, Lauren, what would you pinpoint as the reason why the Bears fell short in this game, not being that interception?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one, but like I think you're right. It's the first half, right? It's having fallen behind so much in the first place. It's Caleb starting 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 passing, and the Bears really not getting the running game going consistently until the second half. I know they were starting a little bit at the end of the first half, but like, you know, it just felt like they put themselves in that position where we talk about it all season. Like the margin of error gets smaller and smaller as you play better and better opponents. And we talked about it eventually catching up to the Bears. And it kind of felt like that was the case in this game. And it doesn't feel as much because, well, you still had the chance. An accurate pass there, like still wins you the game. But like you were put in that position where you needed a better throw from Caleb Williams because you're trailing by 2 scores in the second half, and you were so late kind of getting everything wrong, and the defense is giving up these chunk plays and having miscommunications and missing tackles on on Josh Jacobs on that third down run. Like there's 10 or 15 different plays you can point to, like, man, you make that stop there or you complete that pass there, like it changes the whole game. And certainly the last play of the game is one of those plays, but there's 10 or 12 others that have similar amounts of importance. Obviously the last one feels more important because it is the deciding one, but previous plays never get you then into that moment to have that play.
Yeah, I look at it from, looking at the first half. I think it's mostly on Ben Johson and Dennis Allen for not making the adjustments until halftime. And, especially offensively, I thought they kept trying to roll Caleb right, and he did some good things rolling right, but it felt like the Packers knew what was coming much of that first half. Every time they tried to screen, it was there. I mean, you even saw that into the second half until the Burden screen that got him the first down late in the game. It's just, I don't think they made any adjustments in the first half until halftime. And I think that's what ultimately killed them in this game. Because if you don't blitz everybody and leave Byard back there by himself against Christian Watson, which is just an unfair, or later in the game when Jaquan Brisker's trying to cover the back deep by himself when he's not a cover guy. Those are the kind of things that I hope that Dennis Allen learns from. And then the stuff, again, Ben got a little cute where he went away from the run for way too much of an extended time. And again, they couldn't get the run game going early enough. And I feel like that's part of it. So both those coaches, I think, took a lot of blame for that first half. But they also get a lot of the credit for the second half for making the adjustments at halftime. So you just got to you can't put 2 quarters together against the Packers. You need 3.5 quarters of football to beat the Green Bay Packers and the best in the NFL.
Yeah, the unspoken part of that is like, and we don't always like to say it, but Packers are a good football team, right?
Yeah.
Like you lose sometimes to good football teams, and it comes down to one play and it's a coin flip. And sometimes you can chalk it up to like, yeah, they get paid a lot too, and they play pretty well too. Like that is a big part of it.
Yeah, I think to highlight one specific play is one you mentioned, Lauren. You got Josh Jacobs dead to rights on a third down. You got 4 guys back there, and he just finds a way to break off a 21-yard run. Like if someone just gets the tackle in that moment, you hold them to a field goal, and maybe the game just ends differently there. But having that chance to get him and Josh Jacobs, it's like you either stopped him or he bullied the defense. It felt like in this game, it didn't feel like there was much in between. But that one specific third down play where he goes for 21, you got 4 guys, Montez Sweat specifically, right there in the moment. That to me feels like the game-changing play more than just that final interception.
Yeah, like if I had to point to one stat, I think you snuck it in there But like one stat, why did the Bears lose this game? Green Bay Packers had 0 field goal attempts. Like that's if you have, I mean that encompasses so much of like what went wrong in this game, right? If you hold any of those 4 touchdown drives are a field goal, totally different game, and that's from those fundamental missed tackles. That's from blown coverages. That's from mismatches in one-on-one against Christian Watson. Like any of those individual things are all encompassed by every drive was a touchdown, a punt, or the 1 interception. Like that was the Bears couldn't hold them to field goals. It was kind of a lot of big plays or a quick 3 and out, but nothing really in between.
Yeah, and you just mentioned that interception that the Bears did get early. They had the pass to Cole Kmet, which was incomplete / fumbled / a catch. I'm not really sure. When you look at the replay, you really can't tell. They ended up coming back incomplete. But if you complete that ball, which was an amazing throw by Caleb, if Loveland can hold that and take it to the ground, and then you keep that drive off the interception going and putting up some points, it's a much different feeling game. Because remember, then it went back. Then Loveland had the false start, and then he got benched for a couple drives, and it just never really got going. So you get the turnover like you want to start the game, but then you don't cash in on it like you have so many others over these past, 10 weeks of being 9-1 or whatever it is. They did some good things early, but they weren't able to cash in on it. And then Green Bay got some explosive plays, which killed you.
Before we get into the offense and take our first break, as we're talking about the interception and some of the big plays, a lot of them were around CJ Gardner-Johnson, whether it's the interception or him chasing guys down. Before the game, Lauren, we get breaking news: Kyler Gordon out with a groin injury. I mean, he's gotten hurt 3 times this year. We haven't seen it happen. They all had it happened at practices or before games, but that felt like a very bad tone to start this game, just knowing that like you had a chance to get Kyler Gordon back and have Jalen Johnson, no Tyreek Stevenson, and you lose him. And at one point, Jalen Johnson's gone for like a drive and a half, but comes back into the game before a touchdown. So I don't know, Lauren, like how you feel about Kyler right now, because it's hard when someone gets hurt, but it was just disappointing to not see him out there again today when you really needed him against the Packers.
Yeah, I think the margin of error in a game like this is so small that like, we can never definitively say, do they win the game if Kyler Gordon plays? I don't know, but like, is there one fewer missed tackle on a play? Not even like a CJ Gardner-Johnson missed a tackle, but just that Gordon gets there after, on that 3rd down run to Josh Jacobs we talked about. Like, does Kyler Gordon get over there and make that play? Or is there like one more tackle? Because like CJ Gardner-Johnson lost one of those slant routes to Watson that went on for a touchdown. Like, I don't know that Kyler Gordon is appreciably fast, like that much faster than CJ Gardner-Johnson, where if he's in coverage on that play, does he prevent a touchdown? I mean, maybe not, but his physicality as a run defender, his ability as a blitzer to get home, like, is there one more key play that can be the difference between maybe a touchdown and a field goal on one of those drives, right? And like, is that the difference in the game that Kyler Gordon could have had? But like, I certainly don't think like, oh, that was the only, you're not going to sit here and say, oh, well, that's the reason they lost the game, but it was definitely a potential factor there.
Yeah, and it's just, we were all so excited. You're getting TJ Edwards, Noah Sewell back. You're getting these guys back on defense, and then you're getting Jalen Johnson, and you're getting Kyler Gordon, and you hope to have them all. And I would have liked to seen how Dennis Allen used Gardner-Johnson with Kyler Gordon on the field, and I think it would have allowed him to do different things that he really wanted to do and probably had planned to do, and maybe even tried to do without Kyler Gordon today that didn't really work. But Gardner-Johnson's better in run support, blitzing, doing different things. He's not a great cover guy. And now he's having to cover Christian Watson in the slot. And that's a mismatch from the jump. And especially when he gives them inside and then Watson takes it. Love and Watson were on the same page, had that slant called with a little hand signal, and it was off to the races. And that's one of those adjustments that Dennis Allen didn't make. He kept walking everybody to the line, and they just kept beating him. So maybe it's just he tried to stick to the game plan that he had with Kyler Gordon in the game and thought he could do different things, but he didn't make the adjustment quick enough, and it hurt him multiple times in this game.
Real quick before we go to break, a very minor correction, but I saw the plays were both posted on Twitter. The last play against the Eagles and the first play, or the last play against the Packers, or sorry, the 2 touchdown plays, the throws.
Yeah.
they were very similar route concepts, but Bears ran it out of a different formation.
Okay.
Like DJ Moore's route against the Packers came like through the backfield and up, and again, and it was different personnel. So at least from a Ben Johnson play calling perspective, it wasn't like Green Bay could sit there and say, "Hey, same formation, same player."
Okay. That is good to know. Yes.
It was 3 tight ends, and I think DJ Moore was a single receiver to the right. Against the Packers, it was 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, a 2x2 formation. Bears were sort of a 13 personnel against the Eagles. So it was the same, like it looked the same for the quarterback, but a defense might not recognize it that instantly based on, we just saw this play against the Eagles. It's like, I don't think they would have been able to pick that up that way.
Yeah. That's good to know, at least, that it's not the same formation. You just
Yes.
run and say play back-to-back weeks.
Routes came from different places, but they ended up in the same routes, but they started from different spots.
Gotcha.
All right, what went so wrong in the first half versus in the offense? What went so well in the second half? Let's get to that next year on the Bears Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. With 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. From the moment they were announced on Saturday, I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I live in Houston, Texas, and the World Cup is coming to Houston. I immediately got on Gametime to start seeing when the games were coming. And again, I'm not a huge soccer guy, but it's the World Cup. Got to go, and I'm going to be using Gametime to get there. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go Gametime. All right, let's start with the positives here. Let's get a little positive here for a second. Caleb Williams was incredible in the second half. The throw on the run to Cole Kmet was perfect. The touchdown pass to Zacchaeus was thrown in between Packers' hands, and he caught a great catch by Zacchaeus as well. The run game was much different. We saw Monangai and Swift both having success. So, Adam, starting with you for this one, what did you see in the second half that was just so much better versus the first half?
Well, I mean, we all know this team, this offense is predicated on the run. When they get the run going, Caleb is dangerous. And again, they have Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons, and Caleb Williams is a magician of getting out of that pocket. I mean, just the way he avoids sacks is incredible. But they got the run game going, and then Ben was able to use different concepts of layering. I mean, Caleb struggled this year in the middle of the field in that intermediate range. He was great tonight in the second half at that range. I mean, he was hitting Burden, there was a lot of Loveland got a lot of good balls. And remember, they didn't have Roma Dunze, so I think that adds a little bit. So I just thought they started running the ball really well. The offensive line just kind of started firing off the ball, and I think that really helped get the offense going. And then Caleb was just tremendous. He was not inaccurate at all in the second half, besides the last throw, obviously.
Yeah, I think he started getting a better feel too for like the pressure that Green Bay was bringing, and I think the offensive line started getting their stuff together a little bit too. Like Jonah Jackson was struggling with Micah Parsons, and then some of those stunts on the inside to kind of get those matchups. But it seemed like as the game went on, there was some improvement there, not complete improvement, but like those first couple of drives, I felt like Caleb was under pressure on almost every play. I know they flashed a graphic on the screen of like how often he had been under pressure early on. I didn't retain the exact numbers, but it was like pretty consistently dropping back under pressure and getting flushed out of the pocket. And as the game went on, like they still got pressure on him, but it felt like they settled in a little bit more. I think they kept tight ends in a little bit more, at least like chipping to tight ends on each side of the line of scrimmage, kind of like bookend both sides. And I think that helped. They went to some more max protect throws, just those like play action, leave 7 guys in and let Luther Burden run that deep curl. They hit that 2 or 3 times in the game. A few different options like that where they could finally pick things up, let Caleb set his feet, and and then, work the rollouts off of that. And I think there's some luck involved with that too, where like the Packers were blitzing into the rollout a few times where they don't know which side he's going to roll out to, but they just happened to have a right call there. And in the second half, he could roll to the right and actually like set his feet and then fire the throw instead of like having to kind of jump, throw, and avoid the sack all at the same time and still make a nice pass. But it was just like a little bit more of that time to like take a half second, set your feet, and throw. And I think that's where you started to see Caleb get into more of a rhythm.
Yeah, I think the graphic, early in the game, Lauren, I think it said there was 9 dropbacks and he was pressured on 5 of them. So like early on in the game, he had no chance, and he wasn't connecting on the big plays that we saw in the second half. And I think that's that's the overall, the positive takeaway from this game in the loss is, Adam, what you were saying earlier too, is it's the adjustment. It's how much better it looked in the second half for the Bears offense. The question is just, how do you find 4 quarters of football? And I think that's where the Bears record versus reality is. We're all having a hard time with that. Like, they were the 1 seed in the NFC before this game, obviously are no longer that. But they're 7 seed now.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a drop.
That's how tight the NFC is. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy. But like, finding a way to be more consistent for 4 quarters, it's been the Bears' biggest problem offensively all year. And I think that's just really what we saw again, as it took them, again, 2 quarters to really get this thing rolling in the right direction. It just took too long. So by the time they finally had it, they put themselves in a position where there was no margin for error. Well, they hit the error and they lost.
Yeah, I look at it in the first half. I was just kind of running some quick numbers, so don't quote me exactly on these. But the first 2 drives you come out, you run the ball once, throw it 6 times, and you get nothing out of it. And that's coming off a turnover too. So, I mean, you don't get anything there. Then you go to the next one. It's 3 run, 2 pass. So, I mean, right there in your first 3 drives, you're at 8 passes to just 4 runs. When if you get this offense running the ball, you're so much better. But it feels like Ben wants to get the pass going so fast in games, yet Caleb comes out so inaccurate. It feels like every single week, you feel like Ben would kind of learn, like, let's lean on the run early, let Caleb get in the game, and then we can go. But no, and then it wasn't until the 4th drive, that field goal drive, where they ran the ball 9 times to just 4 passes. So, I mean, that's where you finally score. And what do you do the most? You run the ball. So that's where I just thought the first half, that's why I'm looking at Ben so much. Yes, Caleb was inaccurate early, but he settled down, started to make some throws. He didn't have I think he was 6 of 14 for like 32 yards in the first half, but that's with starting 0 for 5, like Lauren said early in the game. So I just think Ben Johnson needs to get the run going earlier in games and allow Caleb to kind of take a breath, because he comes out, I don't know if he's amped up or what it is, but he misses high at the start of every single game.
Yeah, that 4th drive you talk about where they started running the ball, that started with 9 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the second quarter. Like that was when they really started running. It's been a quarter and a half and a cold weather game, and we're looking at our clocks, our watches, going like, "Hey, what are we doing here?" And like, if I try and play devil's advocate and get into Ben Johnson's brain here, maybe the thought is like, hey, I feel like if I'm Ben Johnson, I can kind of get the running game going kind of whenever I want to, because they're blocking so well. So maybe my thought process is, let me take the scripted plays with Caleb and try and get him throwing. It's like, he's going to know exactly what these first 10 plays are going to be. He's going to know where we want him to go with the ball. Like, I can walk him through what should be these first 5 completed passes. And he goes over 5 of them. But like, the idea is like, let's hold his hand on these scripted plays to try and jumpstart this offense, knowing that I can get back to running the ball in the second quarter. We'll run the ball eventually, but so why bother starting with running game? We could start with what should be easier passes with more help for Caleb in those scripted plays. And unfortunately, it doesn't play out that way, but he knows, all right, scripted plays are done. Let's get to running the football and kind of get back into our offense. And along the way, you got to hope your defense keeps it to a 1-score game, which up to that point they did, but then these things fall apart from that point.
Yeah, and to your point, like early in the season, that's what Caleb was good at. Like, his best moments were either the very first drive or the very last drive of games. And it was kind of a meh in the middle a lot of times. But like the scripted stuff early in the season was much better. And to your point, Adam, I mean, that first drive, he's got someone on the sideline open. And then I think he overshot Luther Burden by 300 feet on that last 3rd down and completion, that opening drive. It's just, he's coming up way too amped, it feels like. And maybe it's because he knows the importance of Packers week, but there needs to just be like, I think from the entire offense, like a collective deep breath before these games. It just feels like between Ben Johnson and Caleb, it's too scattered the last couple weeks, and specifically in this game at the beginning of the games.
And both of those first misses were Luther Burden. And it makes me think then, because there was a play later in the first half where Caleb tries to throw a check down where Luther Burden's coming on a shallow cross, and then Burden stops and Caleb throws it way in front of him. And that made me wonder then, do we look back at those first two throws and wonder, okay, maybe was Luther Burden at the correct depth? I mean, Caleb clearly looked like he overthrew him both times, but like, it does make me wonder, like, because it's Burden, if maybe there's still an aspect of that that's miscommunication. I imagine Caleb definitely overthrew both of them, but could they have been catchable if Burden had been a little bit deeper? I mean, we won't know the answer to that question, but it speaks to maybe the absence of Rome Odunze in a couple of those spots where he'll catch those easy ones. But Caleb certainly has been overthrowing everybody beyond just Luther Burden too. So I'm not willing to excuse it all there, but it just makes me wonder if there's still a rookie receiver connection there that is a disconnection there.
It's interesting you say that, because, and that could definitely be something, because at one point in the game, it was in the first half, Luther lines up on the wrong side and Caleb has to tell him where to go. And I'm pretty sure it was a third down. I'd have to go back and watch, but I'm pretty sure it was a third down. And then you could just tell the play, he snapped the ball and the routes were just all mixed up. I think Luther got mixed up on what he was supposed to do. And he probably ran the route as if he was on the left side of the field, and maybe he was supposed to go out and Caleb missed the throw, or it was maybe one of the throwaways or something. But I just remember Burden having to be told to go to the other side of the field. And you could kind of tell, like, when he said it was like, crap, like, I'm on this side, but now he maybe ran the wrong route. So I think with Burden, you're still getting some of that learning curve into the NFL, into the Ben Johnson's playbook. And especially with Rome Odunze out, I'm sure that, Burden stepped up into that number 2 wide receiver role in this game. Maybe one, because DJ Moore did nothing besides that one little toss play that lost 4 yards. Was he targeted other than that?
No.
That's
three targets, okay. 1 catch, -4 yards.
3 targets, and the other 2 targets don't even stand out to me. So
they were overthrows. One was a scramble drill where he was in the corner and Caleb sailed it out. It was trying to make the play happen.
I remember that. Yep.
I think the other one was similar to it. It's
okay.
Yeah, it does still feel like there's just a collective disconnect still, and I think that's still. It's like I expected it to be better at this point, because I don't think, as we talk about Burden here, I think we have to highlight Colson Loveland, that without Drew Dahlman and Joe Thuney pushing Kyle Monungai into the end zone, he's got no idea where he's going on that motion play, and then he blocks the wrong guy. Like, it just still feels like operationally, this offense, like the team hasn't quite totally got it yet. They can run really fancy plays. That play that they ran, the underhand toss, was awesome. But some of the simple stuff, like where to go in motion, Colston, and where to block, feels like that's still off, Lauren, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked the initial stats of PFF, which may get corrected at some point, has Caleb with 7 intentional throwaways in this game. The most he'd had in a game before this was 4. So like almost double the amount of throwaways in this game. And I wonder how much of that is looking downfield, and it's just like, right, these little things are like, no one's quite where they need them to be. And also like scramble drill, like 2 rookies are out there, so we're not quite on the same page for scramble drill. And then DJ Moore kind of freelances. Like Rome is usually where he goes to on those, like Rome and Cole Kmet are kind of the 2 he goes to on those broken down scramble drill plays, and missing one of those guys made those more tough. And how much of it too was just saying, hey, against Green Bay, I really don't want to press this, and being a lot more willing to just dirt it and punt it and play field position game. Like, I wonder how much of that is the Bears still really pushing, like, hey, be safe with the ball, don't turn it over, and how much of that is a reflection of offensive dysfunction around him.
It's crazy you say that he had 7, because there could have been 3, maybe 4 more in this game. He made that throw to Cole Kmet, the crazy throw down the field, running to his right before he goes out of bounds. Then he did hit Burden one time running to his right. Burden just kept coming across, and he found him for a first down and extended the play. So there was definitely more throwaways. And I did find myself saying, throw the ball away, Caleb, throw the ball away. And then he did. And it was like, okay, he was learning. For Colson Loveland, that one play at the goal line, Thuney and Dahlman did save him. But, man, they left him one-on-one with Micah Parsons more than a few times, and he did really well blocking. I think Bears fans need to look at Colson Loveland and look at his block. He's been really good as a blocker, even in the run game. They run it with all three tight ends, but mainly Loveland and Smythe, where they come in motion and then the ball's snapped and then they stop, turn, and come, straight back across and block a guard or the defensive tackle, and help the guard. So, he's been really good at blocking, and he had at least 3 or 4 catches today, I think. So he's still doing pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't hit on the run game at all. Let's hit on that first before we go to break. The first thing we got to mention is Kyle Monangai delivered one of the most punishing moments I've ever seen when the Packers player, his helmet shatters in the moment. Still only gets 2 yards, but we saw Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift run much better in the second half versus the first half. And as we went through, they didn't really run it a ton in the first half. They didn't really try to. So, Lauren, what to you felt like the difference in just what you saw in the run game today?
Yeah, some of it's just sticking to it, right? And trusting your ball carriers to, even if you're going 2 or 3 yards on your first couple handoffs, they're going to find a way to sneak through and get a little bit more. They just run hard. And it's not very complicated analysis of just they kind of seem to want it more than other running backs. And that's something that hasn't always been there consistently with DeAndre Swift, but certainly has been this season or since the bye week, at least consistently for both of these guys. But it felt similarly to the Eagles game, again, just on first watch, where not super complicated from an offensive scheme standpoint. It was a lot of just inside and outside zone over and over again, but still doing a good job of mixing it up formationally, a lot of pre-snap motion just to kind of dress it up in a lot of different ways. And then, trust the right side of your offensive line in particular to block it up pretty well. Whereas I still kind of felt like, the Trapillo side of the offensive line isn't run blocking stellar, but it's not, forcing a run stuff that's blown up in the backfield all the time either.
Yeah, it's not killing you on the run, but yeah, everything mostly is to the right. They did have the one play where they brought right all the way to the left on outside of Ozzie Trapillo, and then they still ran right. I think it was a 3rd and 1 and picked it up. I just want more of the run. I guess that's kind of my theme each week. I want more of it. What they have 27 runs between them, 14 and 13, I think. Maybe it was 14 and 15, something along those lines. So I just want more of it. I think you could see both these guys running the ball 18 times a game, and they're comfortable because they're able to you can go Monangai for 2 drives, give Swift a huge break, and then here comes Swift giving Monangai a huge break. And then if you need a short yardage, you want to go Monangai for a play. I thought it was interesting that they did use DeAndre Swift more on short yardage today.
Yeah.
It felt like that was intentional, the way they were scheming it up and everything. But the one run play that killed them was that last one on the 3rd and 1 when they don't pick up there at the end. If you pick up that first down, that game's completely different. Now it's 4th and 1 and you got to try something. And they try that play to Cole Kmet and it doesn't work, but they were really good all second half, even starting into the second quarter with that long 9-run drive that they had. You can tell it's still one of the best units in the league when they use it. I just wanted to use it more.
I do wonder just a little bit if defenses are starting to catch up or if just the Packers were good at sniffing out the trick plays, right? There was more than one end around and jet sweep that got absolutely blown up. And I don't know if trick plays is too strong of a word, right? But the misdirection running game really wasn't working in this one. And again, is that Green Bay specifically being really smart, or is that going to be an ongoing theme where it's hey, you got to mix those up a little bit more because every team is there's some tell formationally that, okay, if Burden is lined up here or motions this way, you got to be ready for it.
Right. Yeah, that one DJ Moore play where he got blown up at the line of scrimmage, that could have been a disaster. Honestly, they're really lucky that wasn't a fumble because he got hit the second he touched the football.
It was before he touched the football, but just behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah. That feels like a formation thing to me, where it's hey, there's 3 tight bunch receivers to the right, and DJ Moore is the one in the middle, off the line of scrimmage, probably, and single receiver to the other side. Yeah, be on the lookout for a screen pass over there. The Bears don't run a ton of off the line of scrimmage bunch formation. They'll bunch them close to the tight end, but that wide, there's little things like that I hope Ben Johson and company are self-scouting well enough to say, hey, yeah, Green Bay exposed that we were predictable in a couple areas.
And there was another screen pass in this game where when Caleb threw it to DeAndre Swift, the Packers player was standing behind him. Somehow that guy didn't tackle DeAndre Swift. He only still got 2 yards, but he was literally basically on top of Swift as a screen pass was thrown. So yeah, it feels like there is just a level of I don't know, like it's either catching on, some predictability. Maybe you're right, Lawrence, some formation stuff where it feels like at least the Packers today, I agree. Like they had a good number on some of the things the Bears were trying to do. All right, let's talk about what we saw from the defense in this game. Some good moments, but a lot of big plays given up. Why did that happen? Let's get into that next here on the Bears Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Mat frames named #1 by Wirecutter. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's auraframes.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now and get it in time for the holidays and support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so what did you see from the defense, Lauren? A lot of big chunk plays the Packers were getting. They were finding a way to, whether it was finding the safeties, like Brisker and Byard, the matchup versus C.J. Gardner-Johnson versus Christian Watson. What did you see from the defense and how they adjusted throughout the game?
Yeah, I feel for Dennis Allen a little bit more in this side of the thing, this side of the matchup, where I feel like Dennis Allen has some more excuses of hey, you're still missing Kyler Gordon, you're still missing Tyreek Stevenson, you have Nick McLeod out there, you don't have much of a pass rush, you got DeMarco Jackson out there. Not to say that then excuses all mistakes they make, but more so I kind of feel like Dennis Allen's in the spot where he's got to take some big risks. Jordan Love is really good against the blitz, but you can't just sit and rush 4 because if you give him a clean pocket, he's going to eat you alive. So what do? Do you let him sit back and he pick you apart, or do you blitz and risk big plays downfield? He blitzed and risked big plays downfield, and they got him on the interception on one of those. No, I guess that wasn't a blitz play, but they got him on the interception with some of the pressure they were trying to bring after him, and he got them downfield on some of the man coverage behind those blitzes. It's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't for Dennis Allen. So I feel for him, but also don't want to excuse hey, yeah, I still don't like the idea of could you zone blitz behind those, and maybe don't ask Jalen Johnson to drop back into a deep safety half field zone, on a key situation like that. I mean, again, you got to take risks to try and make a big play and bait him into an interception. Maybe he doesn't think Jalen Johnson's going to be back there, and Johnson does go back there and makes the big interception. I mean, it's such a tricky job that he's in. So I try not to kill him too much. You held Green Bay to 28. That's not horrible for an offense that's playing pretty well this season.
Yeah, and I just, like I said earlier in the show, I just wonder how much of the game plan he changed when the news of Kyler Gordon being out came out right before kickoff. What was he able to change, get with his players and say, all right, let's change to this or let's do this. And I said it felt like he didn't change much in the first half, and he was just expecting his guys to be able to do what maybe Kyler Gordon can do a decent bit better than all the other guys, especially like Nick McLeod. But I thought overall, besides the big plays, the defense played well. I mean, they were fine. There was just, the drive there that they took the lead on, that ended in the Jacobs touchdown. That just kind of feels like a drive the Bears defense is going to give up every once in a while. And yeah, the timing of it sucked. And the fact that you missed the tackles on that one play where you had 4 Bears. There was the play earlier where C.J. Gardner-Johnson on also Josh Jacobs when he passed it out, and he could have hit him at I don't know what yard line it was, but it would have been 3rd and 10. Instead, he just completely whiffs on a wide open tackle, and then it ends up 3rd and 1, and the drive continues on. So it was a frustrating day, I think, from the explosive play standpoint, but I thought they were decent throughout the game on the other stuff.
One thing I still haven't heard a concrete explanation for is how many weeks ago did Jalen Johnson come off injured reserve? Was this his 2nd or 3rd game playing?
Second game.
Second. Yeah, it came back for the Eagles.
Because he played 35 out of 53 snaps today. That's what, 65% of the game? I was kind of thinking that maybe he needs a game on a short week for the Eagles. Maybe he's rotating in and out. But when Jalen Johnson's playing 35 and Nick McLeod's playing 25, and that's your split opposite Nashawn Wright, that's a big deal. And is he healthy, or is he kind of healthy? Is he going to get back to playing 100% of the snaps, or is the rest of the season going to be this on the field, off the field stuff for him? Because like CJ Gardner-Johnson played every snap of this game. Nashawn Wright played all but 2 snaps of this game when he got kicked in the face or helmet. But like when Jalen Johnson's out there for 2/3 of the game, like that is a big difference when he's there and not there.
I don't know what you saw, but when I watched Jalen Johnson, he did not look healthy. He looked like he couldn't move. I mean, I know he's not the most physical defensive back that's going to come up and really stick you or really hit you hard, but he makes tackles. And there was a couple times where that ball just went right by him, and it looked like he could barely move to even attempt to make the tackle, if you understand what I'm saying. I mean, he did not look healthy. And like Joe said earlier in the show, there was kind of there in the second, maybe late first, second quarter where he disappeared for a little while. And then, boom, he's back on the field. And then the first thing I noticed is it was one of those plays where he couldn't even really attempt to make the tackle because he looked so slow. If he's not healthy, he's not helping you out there. If anything, he's just hurting you, because now you're leaving Jaquan Brisker back as the only safety deep late in the second quarter, trying to at least just force a field goal going into halftime, and then they get the big 50-yard touchdown pass.
But who do you trust more, 60% Jalen Johnson or 100% Nick McLeod?
I guess I would have to see Jalen Johnson run, because, I mean, the way he was moving, I don't know. That's the question. At least McLeod made that one nice play on that deep ball. I mean, that was a great play. But other than that, I mean, that's a crappy hand to be dealt if you're Dennis Allen out there.
Yeah, and it's you don't want to overlook a team, but like, I mean, now the Browns made one of the worst play calls maybe in the history of the NFL today. That's who you play next week, and Jerry Jeudy's been kind of up and down since Shedeur Sanders took over at quarterback. But like the positive is like you're not facing the Packers again next week. You have the Browns, and then you play the Packers, but that's gonna be coming off a short week. Like it's a Saturday night game, so the question of the health of these corners. I think we all were kind of talking ourselves into the defense getting better because there was this assumption that Kyler's going to be back. Jalen's going to be playing 100% of the snaps. Like you said, Tyreek Stevenson's going to return. And at one point again on this game, they were all gone for 30 of the plays on defense because Jalen Johnson was not on the field. Like you need Tyreek Stevenson back. Feels like more than anything right now, because you can't rely on getting Kyler Gordon back next week versus the Browns or anything going forward. Anything you get from him is just going to be positive at this point.
And Noah Sewell plays 1 snap in the game, and I don't know if is that helpful.
That was interesting.
Like DeMarco Jackson better. Like I am not a Noah Sewell fan or defender at all, but like you activate one of the linebackers to kind of get healthier there, and then don't use him. Like when you combine that with the Jalen Johnson, like he's healthy and playing, but not fully playing, it just makes me kind of question, like, are these guys actually healthy? Are they rushing them back a little bit? Was Kyler Gordon rushed back a little bit and then has a groin injury pregame? Like that, we don't know. I'm not going to tinfoil hat and say, oh, the Bears are screwing this all up, but it starts to add up and we have questions that are unanswered there.
Yeah, it's I kind of question that. They may be like DeMarco Jackson because Dennis Allen knows him better from his time with the Saints. So maybe he's just more comfortable with him. And if you have him in the game and something happens to TJ Edwards, because like you said, I mean, Noah Sewell or DeMarco Jackson, I thought early in the season, Sewell was at least flying around, and then he just kind of nosedived after like week 4 in his play, and then he got injured and wasn't out there. So maybe it's just he likes the fact that if TJ Edwards does go down, you can go right to DeMarco Jackson, who's in the game. He's going. You can put the green dot back on him and move forward. And Sewell helped out on special teams with a couple tackles, I think, at least that I saw. So, I mean, maybe it's just they like DeMarco better in this situation until Tremaine Edmonds comes back in a couple weeks. And who knows if he'll be healthy, because that's the theme of the Bears defense right now.
And upon some further investigation here, so DeMarco TJ Edwards played 33. So, like, it's very similar, like, first game back, playing half the game, but then Eamon Onbagbamiga played 12 snaps on defense. Noah Sewell played 1. So Sewell was linebacker 4 in this game.
He's not healthy.
It's got it. So, like, again, Edwards is playing but not healthy. Jalen Johnson is playing but not healthy. Kyler Gordon was going to play and clearly not healthy. Noah Sewell's playing and not healthy. Like, I get that injured starter may be better than crappy backup, but when it's 4 of them, it starts to add up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then your defensive line in this game, like Montez Sweat gets 1 sack, right? And then I think it was him. And then outside of that, Jordan Love had all day. It felt like it didn't really feel like it mattered if they blitzed, if they didn't blitz. It just, they could not get any pressure on him. And again, that's something we knew going into the season was going to be a problem. But there was a lot of times this year where in the second half, the Bears have done a better job. And I think you could say that, but like it was marginal from the beginning play to that last drive for the Packers. Where like they cannot get after the quarterback enough. And it is going to be a problem if the Bears make the playoffs this year with how good the NFC is. Like it is still in question, obviously. They can't do anything against a good offensive line.
Yeah, this is where I just talk about Dennis Allen, and I kind of put that first half on him for not making the adjustments. But also, this is the hand he's dealt, too. This is what Ryan Poles gave him, and he's just trying to make it work. And he knows if I want to get pressure, I have to send 5 or 6 at the quarterback. And, I mean, even then, they're barely getting pressure. So it's tough right now for Dennis Allen. I understand that. Montez Sweat has been a disappointment overall since signing the big money. Javon Dexter, he's been solid, but not showing up enough. He's not making the big splash plays he was under Matt Eberflus. So you would like to see a little bit more of that. Grady Jarrett has done really nothing for me in this game. And then Andrew Billings is just the run stuffer that hasn't been stuffing the run that much. At one point, he just shoved the center straight backwards 6 yards, and the run play went right next to. I think it might have rubbed shoulders with him, and he didn't even attempt to stop the ball carrier. He just pushed the center back 6 yards. So I'm not sure what's going on with this offense or defensive line. And Austin Booker, we thought maybe give you something. No shows.
Yeah, it's not been good. And Joe Troyanshenko, I think he's had like 1 or 2 plays since the Bears got him. And not that we had like high expectations for this guy, right? But like it's they haven't been able to do it. And going into the offseason, the number one question for the Chicago Bears is going to be, are you going to sign Trey Hendrickson? Are you going to make a splash trade? Like, how are you going to address the defensive line? Because you've tried a bunch, but even Dio Dengbo, like, tore his Achilles. He ain't playing for the Bears next year. So the pass rush has not been good. Unfortunately, it does not feel like it's going to get any better. So even though they lost, we're not going to go full moral victory here, but did the Bears prove that they belong with at least the playoff contenders of the NFC? We'll get to that next year on the Bears Squad Show.
The Bears Squad Show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. As we saw today, NFL Sundays move fast. It's one big play and suddenly everything feels different. And that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting, because you're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is really best when the game starts to shift. A quarterback gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a big turnover. And FanDuel lets you jump right into the moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, or player props that update as guys heat up. You could bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It just keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
All right, so the Bears lose this game 28-21 as we get to wrap up here. It's disappointing to see them lose. The Packers, for the most part, just outplayed the Bears in this game, and especially obviously in that first half. They were the better football team. The Bears were the better team in the second half, but come up short. But Lauren, how do you just feel about this team now after watching this game? Even though they lost, feels like they still show like they still belong, and this isn't the most disappointing loss it could have been. Like I hate to do moral victory, but like they lost the game, but they played well enough in the second half that I still feel satisfied with how this game went overall.
Yeah, I think a great measurement of this is, I guess it's still a hypothetical one, but like I think if you could hook up Packers fans to a polygraph machine, they would tell you they were pretty scared at the end of that game. There was a real fear of like, Caleb Williams is driving this team down, and he's going to put this in the end zone potentially. And maybe you're not sure whether the Bears go for 2 or not, but like that the Bears put a pretty good scare in the Packers for a lot of this game. And even when the Bears were trailing multiple scores in the second half, I think Packers fans didn't have that feeling of like, oh, same old Bears, this one's over, pack it in, we can head for the tailgate and in the parking lot. It's like, no, you still got to put this one away. And they're climbing back in. And you got to watch out for the Chicago Bears. Like, I think that the presence of that fear being real, even in a loss, like tells you how much progress Chicago has made and how like this next game against the Packers in 2 weeks should feel like just as much of a coin flip as this one ended.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've definitely shown that they can play with anybody in this NFL, NFC, if you want to say, the last 2 weeks. When you go to Philly and beat the Eagles, go to Green Bay and have a chance to tie or try and win the game if you want to go for two late in the game by driving it down, as Caleb wants to take them. So, yeah, I think I come away from this game still hopeful, of what they can do this season. But I also have, I'm trying to be realistic too, where, yes, they 100% should make the playoffs. I say should, because you're 9-3. You should make the playoffs. Now, I know the NFC's insane at the top with the way they go from 1st to 7th now in the standings with this loss. But you have to be excited about where they can get with Ben Johnson. And if you get Dennis Allen a couple pass rushers this offseason and he sticks around and you get a little healthy and maybe move some pieces around, that you think Dennis Allen can really put up a really good defense for this team moving forward. So, yes, this season I'm still thinking they should make the playoffs. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I'm still very excited for the future to see Ben Johnson and Caleb and this offense keep making strides forward. Because, I mean, let's face it, DJ Moore's done nothing this year. I mean, Rome Odunze's been up and down. You got two rookies learning on the fly that are making some mistakes, but also making great plays. And then the run game that we were scared as hell about coming into this season with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai has turned into one of the best units in football. So, and the offensive line is answered. Like, I think Ozzie Trapillo is showing that he's at least a serviceable left tackle, that if you have the other four, you can live with him and you don't got to go spend another first-round pick or money at the left tackle spot that you can spend on a pass rusher or defensive back help, whatever you want to do. So I love where they're headed, and I still have some expectations left this season coming out of this game.
Hypothetical question here, because you both mentioned it. Caleb Williams completes that touchdown pass to Cole Kmet.
Ben Johnson's going for two. I would too.
Yeah, he's going for two. I think it's the right decision. I would have told you in the moment I thought they would fail on that 2-point conversion and lose 28-27. Like, that's how I thought this game was going to end.
Me too.
And I honestly would have preferred that because it wouldn't have felt so much like, oh, Caleb Williams screwed up at the end. Like,
right.
You're on that 2-point play. Blitz is coming. It's in his face. He rolls out of the pocket. He floats it up in the end zone. It's essentially a Hail Mary jump ball, incomplete pass. Bears lose. That's a lot easier to live with than exactly how this one ended.
Yeah, I think they for sure were going for two in the moment. Like, the way they were bleeding the clock out, it was like, okay, and again, like, they made big chunk plays to get into position. I think that's still a positive to take away from this game, is that even though the last play is bad, you need your quarterback to make big time throws. And he was doing that. Burden was making big receptions there in the fourth quarter, like on that final drive. So you're still getting overall like a lot of the big plays. Final thing here before we wrap up. I'm just and maybe we'll hit on the more on Tuesday's squad show, Lauren, but I am curious, like, we knew Rome was hurt, but with him missing this game, like, A, how much do you feel like they missed him? And then B, does it change your perspective on what we've seen from him the last couple weeks, knowing that he was hurt enough to where he could not play against Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does some. I mean, again, I think when we talk about Rome as a top 10 pick and like, are you going to be an elite wide receiver or just a really good wide receiver? Like, the elite guys, if you're playing, you got to play at a high level. Like, the expectations don't come down really much at all while you're hurt. Like, it just can't be an excuse for the truly, truly special players. It's an excuse for the regular guys out there. And if that's what Rome Odunze is, like, he can still be a good NFL player. But like, I don't necessarily want to just say, oh, okay, well that undoes everything. I mean, I'm more concerned that he's going to miss 2 or 3 games here in the stretch and won't be back for the second Packers game, and that's maybe a longer term concern there. But like, how much they missed him in this game, it was hard to tell watching it live. Like, I think the plays you see it on are the 7 throwaways, right? I don't think it was so much like, oh, if he had thrown to Rome instead of Zacchaeus on that play, is it a different play? I mean, there wasn't as much of that where it's like, oh, Rome would have done more with that pass. It's more like, would Rome have been open when no one else was open? And that's really hard for us to definitively say.
Yeah, I think it hurts with him out, but honestly, I think the Stevenson injury hurts more right now when you're looking at this team. So, yeah, of course you want Rome out there because he does seem to have a connection with Caleb, since they've come in together. But Luther Burden stepped up and played a really good game, I thought, for the most part. And you hope that he can be back for that next Packers game. If he's not ready for the Browns game, you don't rush him. You just let him go. You can say that about a lot of these guys. If they're not ready, you hope that this team can come out and beat the Cleveland Browns, who just gave up, how was it, 31 points or whatever it was to the Tennessee Titans. So, and they're starting Shedeur Sanders for his 3rd or 4th start in the NFL. You hope maybe Dennis Allen can scheme up some things to make it a little tough on him in this Browns offense that isn't very good. So, yeah, you hope Rome can come back, but I think Stevenson was the bigger injury miss today.
And to your point, like, I don't want to see them do with Rome what we're seeing with Jalen Johnson, TJ.
100%.
Guys playing, they're back and they're playing, but they're not 100%. Like, it's like enough. Like, just, and especially, I think, like, again, it's hard not to sound like you're denigrating Odunze when you talk about how they were doing okay without him. But like, when Devin Duvernay has a 24-yard scramble drill catch, like, they're getting by okay without him. You'd be better with him, but it's not. Ben Johnson's scheme should be good enough that in the short term you can get away with replacement level players filling some of these holes because he can get guys open and Caleb can create for his own. In the running game, you can lean on, right? Like, all these things should be good enough that one receiver being down for a few weeks doesn't derail the offense. And it didn't too much in this game.
All right, that will do it for this episode of the Bears Squad Show. Thank you for watching and listening, whether it's on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us as we broke down the Bears losing 28-21 to the Green Bay Packers and moving to 9-4 on the season. You can hit that subscribe button, like, rate, review, all of that stuff. It just helps the show grow. And you can catch Lauren Cox Monday through Friday right here on all of the Locked On Bears channels. We'll be back for another squad show on Tuesday night and then for our post-game show next week after the Bears take on the Cleveland Browns. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and your week. Talk to you later. Peace.